call, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. PSR is excited to present to you Last Call, featuring your boy, the pimp slap POD, Mike M.
Pimpin' ain't easy, but it's fun like money. Got bookies on the run, now it's time to get money. Not your typical way to ball. It's last call like some convicts waiting on the next draw. You can feel the tension. Did I mention? Fools better pay attention, cause we getting paid like a pension. T's on the ones and twos, we not the ones that lose. Mike, money's killers, Mike even make the even news.
And now, let's get to the picks.
We be pumping! Buzz Sports Radio, you know we be pumping!
Oh, yeah, we're going, baby. Hopefully you saw the new logo our boy put out there. Shout out to him, T's, on the ones and twos today. And you know what that means. We're smashing and cashing all stream long. There it is. Enjoy it. Take it in for its splendor. It's last call, baby. You're here. It's Pub Sports Radio and excited to be back firing away with you guys again. We had ourselves a night. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I get excited about that kind of stuff. We were smoking it right to those last two NBA games. We had a nice little 8-0 run going right to the end of the night. We'll get to that soon enough, but we're having fun doing it too. This is the best time of year to be a sports fan. Yeah, we just sunsetted the Super Bowl, but we've got college basketball leading into the best tournament in sports. That is March Madness. We've got the NBA. They're going to get into the playoffs probably sometime around August. And we've got the NHL right here in front of us, and we are opening up tonight with a bunch of great opportunities I think are going to get us to the window with some W's. Shout out everybody in here rocking with us here. You guys, appreciate you dropping in. Ready to rock and roll tonight and get this cash. That's what we're here for. It's Tuesday. You know Tuesdays mean our guy Billy Briz comes in here to give us his hard work and effort here on the hardwood between college basketball and the NBA. And yeah, you know, as far as these three cards are concerned, we had a nice meaty NHL card. We've got a meaty NBA card, and we have a nice college basketball card as well. So plenty of opportunities to get that cash here. Loaded up, as they say here. You know, when you're hot, you got to keep firing. You can't step back and get conservative. You got to hurt them bookies, and that's what we're going to do tonight. So I appreciate you guys rocking out here. If you're new here, you're just getting in. You guys know the situation. We ask you to do three things. Smash that thumbs up button if you're making cash. If you made cash last night, you just enjoy the content, throw the support out there. Listen, hit that thumbs up. No one's going to see it. It's anonymous, but it does show us the support. It's in the aggregate. We want to continue to crack the code. That is the 6 p.m. window, and let them know we're here to do business. We're keeping records. We're giving you our actual plays. We're not just firing off the hip, and hopefully everybody forgot about what happened yesterday. We do it every day. Nobody does it better than Pub Sports Radio. Grab the pen and paper. You're going to want to write down the plays I share, the contest, the panels out there, the guys that drop in here like Billy Briz today, and of course, the chat out there, sharper and sharper every single day. You guys have great looks. I love going back and forth. I love what we're building here with this 6 p.m. window, and enjoy the individual DMs as well with you guys talking about the plays you're on. So let's keep building. Let's keep growing. And of course, last but certainly not least, it's the chat that keeps this thing rolling. It's what makes it a lot of fun. Get those plays up there. Let's recognize you guys and what you're putting your hard efforts on here, what your cash is getting involved with. We want to see that on the regular here. Appreciate everybody rocking with us. I see my guy, the Futon Betts in the house. He says, Butler, first play in the chat for us here. Butler, first half. Says, what's up, Mike? Futon Betts, my guy. Like the look out there. Thank you for sharing. Brian Watson says, I'm here waiting for more winners always. Let's go. And there's my homeboy, Aaron Skirvin in the chat. He's got an A out there. I'm not sure what the A stands for other than Aaron. Let's go, my guy. Trisha M's in the house. She's rocking Make America Great Again. And Joseph Thompson rolling with us today. Let's bang these bookies indeed. Skirvin, let's get it done. Gamble, how about them fly guys? Absolutely. Hate to see them win, but love to see that cash. So we're right at the intersection of screw you and pay me. And that's exactly where we want to be with this Flyers team. They're going to keep winning. Then we might as well keep cashing. And that's that play. If you'll remember now, that play has gone to 0-24 when Arizona Coyotes are coming off a situation where they got hit 20 or more times the previous game. UFU in the house. What up, my guy? Says hello, community. Good to see you back, UFU. And Subhuman Gauchos out there. Always good luck to the pub and family. UFU, appreciate that. And Big Scott 510 says, what's good, Mike? Let's pimp slap the bookie today. He's on the Kings -1, the Islanders -1, the Blues money line, and the Nevada first half money line in college hoops out there. Big Scott, we appreciate, as always, you taking the time to share that work, my guy. Ian Shaver says, what's up, D-Gens? Regular work killing my cap, but we fixing to get correct this evening. Ian Shaver, it's always great to see you in here. And Perky Bumps, Senior Bumps, a.k.a. the ski slope master, Marquette hammer spot for our guy, Perky Bumps. What's up, dude? Good to see you out there. Julian Cesario says, Mike, what up, pimp? What up, Julian? It's great to see you there. Let's keep rolling. Jay Peasy says, what up? Jay Peasy, what up to you, my guy? And Nasty Nate in his glory tonight. He's got them Celtics. He's got Providence, and he's got the Bruins playing today. Right now, he's giving us the Celtics smash spot. Excited to see what happens in that Boston game. We'll talk about that. We'll touch on that with the NBA. Great news tonight. We don't have to rush through, albeit we have a lengthy card, but the NBA doesn't start till 7:30. So we've got plenty of time to get through the NHL, the college basketball games, and then we'll move into the professional association out there. Jay Smooth with the smooth balls. You got to keep smooth, baby. Iowa, Cincinnati under 137 for our guy, Jay Smooth. Appreciate that. We'll notate that as well. Gotten better at the copy and paste. So going to be excited to see how you guys are doing as the night unfolds here. UFU says, I bet very heavy on Banchero over 6 assists tonight. I think that's a good looking spot out there. And Good says, pimp slapping with Mike. What's up, brother? What's up, Good? It's great to see you, man. Thanks for coming in. Mark Kels here. Nut Flush Allen, the team total whisperer. He did it again last night. If you paid attention out there, I know he got himself a juicy team total over for the Flyers, and we appreciate him dropping in with his hard work. Truth Tellers in the house. Gamble likes the over in the Oilers game, the over 6.5. Brian Watson says Providence anyone. I do like Providence tonight. I'm leaning that direction. And there's Mel. Mel, we finally have it. An Avs spot, Avs -1. Mel, it would only be fitting that we are head-to-head with your team out there. I'm excited to talk about it. Gamble under 245 in the Suns game. And Ben Stevens says, shout out to the pimp. Shout out to my homeboy, Ben Stevens out there. Bo Jackson ready to go. You guys are fired up. I'm excited about it. I think you're excited about it. I love seeing you guys in here early. Truth Tellers got some alternate numbers here in this NHL spot. -2 Avalanche, -2 Kings, -2 Islanders, and 28-1 parlay to lay down the 2 spot on those spots for our guy, Truth Teller. Always appreciate you guys sharing that, Truth Teller. Thank you. Kent Davies got the Kings -1, the Islanders -1. The St. Louis money line, Dayton -8.5, and about to add the Tampa Boston under 6.5. It seems too easy, Kent Davies. It's easy for you, my guy. You put the hard work in, and we appreciate you sharing them looks with us. Gamble says, low-key think Avs snap the 4-game losing streak and win by 3 or 4 tonight. I hope not, but if you guys are on it, then we'll see what happens. We'll talk about that shortly. Gamble says, I also like the Preds on the puck line. Let's go, Gamble. Ian Shaver says, Nasty Nate, Mr. Trifecta. I might tail you on the Celtics. We haven't seen my favorite play that he lays out there yet. We're waiting to see if he's going to endorse that second quarter for Boston here. That's my favorite one that he drops out in the chat for us. We'll see. Let's stay tuned. LJ from H-Town, baby. What's up, Mikey? Let's cash. LJ, it's always great to see you, my guy. Appreciate you dropping in. Patrick Burns is here. Likes that Air Force San Jose State over 134.5. I'll tell you what, Air Force got me once, and they'll never get me again. That team is awful, but I like that look on the total there and getting that over. I wouldn't be mad at anybody that wants to go to the San Jose State side either. Kelly V. What up, Kelly V? Good to see her. She says, Brian Watson, St. John's off of 2 losses to UConn, Marquette, now Johnny's, and teaser over 140 for her. Jay Stone 9 in the house. Great to see you, Jay Stone 9. Appreciate all you guys dropping in here. Banchero double for the futon bets. And there's Nasty Nate giving it to us there. He wants that Celtics second quarter spot. Now, Mike making me sad. The one time I picked the Avs, he's against them. We'll get there. We'll talk about why. And there's a spot we've already cashed on that is very strong in our favor. So let's go, guys. Appreciate everybody dropping in. If you guys are just getting in here, smash that like button for us. I get it. 6 o'clock, difficult. You're just getting out of work. Maybe you're driving home from work and you're listening to us on the ride. You're getting home. You're figuring out what's for dinner, figuring out what kind of cocktails you're going to have tonight. Let's figure out what kind of games we're going to smash tonight and see if we can't get everybody paid into the window together. So obviously love it, guys. You know, we're all working together in concert to smash these bookies, and it makes it a ton of fun. Like I said, I love what we're building here. You guys are reaching out on the regular. It's always fun to see you winning, hearing when you win on a play that you tailed with me, sharing plays that you're winning that I can tail from you. That's what makes this thing a ton of fun. And without you guys, we have absolutely nothing. So I appreciate everybody dropping in to get rolling on this thing. Ian Shaber, growing the community. one member at a time, one day at a time. Our guy Ian Shaber gets the MVP of the show already, blessing our action before we even lift off the launch pad from Ian Shaber. What a great dude out there, Ian. We appreciate you always giving us your looks, giving us your time, and sharing your cash with us here as we try to grow this membership in this community. Puff Sports is on the rise, baby. This is a stock you want to buy into, and you do that by becoming a member. It's $9.99 a month. You get all kinds of benefits. We have member exclusive shows. We've got discounts in the merch store with all this new gear and swag that's getting laid out there. And you get yourself an opportunity. Tomorrow's the first one of 2 this week. Wednesdays and Fridays, $50 horse races with our guy Jimmy and Jose, doing it up the right way out there. So appreciate you guys getting in and growing this membership. It takes the village to raise this ship here, or this flag, if you will. And all you guys dropping in on the regular means a ton. So let's get to work here. Let's get to it. Let's start with the recap. You guys know the deal. Transparency is of the utmost importance in what we do here. We got to keep it 100. And the best thing is we are cresting the high water mark for the show. In fact, we are there now. And we're looking to move forward with it here. We're turning into this thing here. We're putting the plane right into the storm, and we're going to embrace it as we try to grow this unit hold tonight. But let's go through the lineup yesterday. We talked about that Philly game. Back and forth. I know a couple of you guys were texting me and DMing me about that game. I was concerned. I said 2 -1s. I wanted to get at least one of them as a victory. And, Philly came back not once, twice, but 3 times to go out there to get that 4-3 lead, pumped it home 5-3 and got us that cash at a -108 spot. So always great to start the card off with a win, especially if it's a Philly team. You guys know that means a lot to me. Then we took that Devils team and we took a W with that Devils game. What a nice treat that was from start to finish. Never in doubt, literally from like the first 30 seconds of the game. So that was outstanding. We had a little mini sweep in the NHL. We had a little mini sweep in college basketball. We took that TCU spot -12.5. Never in doubt. Absolutely went up by like 25 points at one point in the second half. I talked about that first half. I ended up playing the first half at -7. That cashed too. But for show purposes, we got the TCU -12.5. And then Texas Tech, the old big guns were firing down there in Texas, and we ended up coming away with that cash. Kansas is a shell of who they used to be here this season, at least at this point in time. And Texas Tech, again, start to finish, never in doubt. Those are the kind of plays you want to have out there. -105, we got the win with Texas Tech to keep the night rolling. San Antonio +6.5. Talk about never looking back. They came out there top to bottom. They kicked the shit out of them. The only thing about that one, though, is we talked about this as a show. We talked about Scotty Barnes and the autoplay with his under 7.5 rebounds. I think he got like 11 last night. So new players, new positioning, trying to figure things out as they close out the season, or at least move to the All-Star break. We'll have to kind of monitor that. He's no longer just an auto play at this point. And I was a little concerned about that from the hop. Chicago Bulls +4.5. Another easy winner out there for us. They smoked them. I know T and I were talking backstage from that second quarter on. They never looked back. The Pacers under 239.5. I mean, the motto of the day was easy cashers. I think they got to like 210 points. And then Memphis under 221. Another winner out there. Not all roses, though. Not all sunshines, butterflies, and ice cream cones, as my guy Aaron Skirvin likes to say out there. Denver +1.5 was a loss for us. Bad call. Easily influenced by others is how I would categorize that loss for me. I'll own it. And then Jamal Murray just never got off. He never got firing. Over 2.5 threes and his double-double. Denver was out of that thing from like the first 3 minutes in the game. So unfortunately, I gave them all out on the show. That's a 3-unit banger against us right there. But you know what? We own it. We'll take it. We'll move forward with it. We'll learn from it. And then the LA Clippers -4.5. They took that big L as well against them T-Wolves. Shame on me. I like that spot with the T-Wolves. Not as a favorite, but as a road dog, that just seemed to make a ton of sense. And frankly, I missed it. So nonetheless, it was a net 8-4 day. We did go 8-2 though on sides and totals. So that was a lot of fun. Important to notate when we're doing well out there. And it was pretty much across the board. The NBA, though, we're getting closer to the All-Star break. There's going to be some trickery and some shenanigans. I know, Aaron. I know. We'll deal with it. We'll move forward with it. It's going to be a lighter NBA card for me, but we've got our guy Billy Briz coming in to go through it. So JPZ says, my bankroll's so happy I don't bother betting NBA anymore. You know what? We're trying to turn these guys around, these guys and girls. Everybody loved the NBA when we started the show, complaining about the NHL. now we got some hockey fans out there, and we're going to continue to grow this hockey fandom ship here. There's great money to be made out there. And I think we opened the card up tonight with some great money spots as well. So let's dig in. Let's lace the skates up. You guys know how we roll here with Last Call. We start out with the NHL. We're going to move briskly because we've got our guy Billy Briz ready to roll. Don't want to mess around with too much dilly-dallying here, but we've got ourselves a great hockey slate. Markel says, I love the NBA. Yeah, I'm still a buy on the NBA. I just, there's certain times that we have to be cautious. I think this All-Star break and coming up to it and leaving it will be some of those spots here. Guys are just checked the fuck out, and they're showing it on the court. So nonetheless, let's get rolling here. Skates are laced up. We got a little tape around the ankles for extra support. Stick in hand, pucks around the ice. Let's get into it and talk about this first game that we're going to open up with today. I told you guys here, I sent a little tweet out earlier today, and I said, if you like dogs, today's the day to get involved with the NHL, and Dogs Day it is here. We're going to open up with this Ducks and Canadiens game, and we'll take it by the numbers here. We've got this Ducks team in an interesting spot tonight. They're going to Dolstall, their number one guy at 8-12-1 with a 3.54 goals against average and a 90.1 save percentage. Doesn't strike fear in the hearts of its competitors, but neither does Caden Primo out there at 4-5-1 with a 3.35 goals against average and an 89.9% save percentage out there. And look, this was a kind of a tricky spot here because I thought this is very much a coin flip situation, and I want kind of the plus money spot in my favor when we've got kind of the first time we're going to talk about this one, and I'll bring it up here in a moment. But the thing about Montreal right now, their last two games, they've been outscored 10-4. They're struggling. They can't find the back of the net consistently enough, and they're not playing strong enough defense. Now they're going to Primo, who was winless in his last 4 starts. He's got 5 goals on 36 shots. The last time they put this bag of pucks in net was 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago. I mean, that's how, I guess he's rested. But that doesn't instill confidence if I'm sitting there as the team going, man, we got to put this guy back in the net. Let's see what happens. Now, I get it. Anaheim, the third worst offense in the NHL. They're only averaging 2.57 goals for, but look, at some point, they're not going to lose them all. The Canadiens have covered the puck line in each of their last 10 games at home after they've had a home loss, which certainly suggests this is going to be a tighter scoring game here. When you look at this, plus 1.5, it's juiced for the Anaheim Ducks. We've been in this position before, and it's the old new trend opportunity. I'm excited to talk about it here. When you've got a situation where, listen to this one, this is kind of a unique spot. The team had a lead at any given point in the game. They had a lead. They allowed 3 goals in the third period and take the L, and the opponent had 0 power play goals that last situation. Kind of a situation where you're up, you shit the bed in the third period, and your opponent that you're playing this game isn't finding success on special teams. Those teams in that position are 25-8 out there. 3.3 goals for to 2.5 goals against. They're on a 10-20 run to the under, and that trend at 25-8 has gone 10-3 in its last 13. The last loss that trend took was back in October. So we are running hot with that puppy. I'm sorry, 10-3 since last 13. And then before that, there was a series of wins is how I meant to write that down. So I clearly misstroke the keyboard there, but we've got a spot with this Montreal. I'm sorry, with this, I'm all over the board with this one. The Anaheim Ducks situation, it's plus 104 at Bet Rivers. So it's a plus 104 spot for Anaheim. I accidentally wrote in there Montreal. So forgive me to open this thing up there. I was thinking fuck Montreal as I was writing it, and it ended up translating to Montreal at plus 112. And what I really meant to say is we're taking Anaheim and we're taking the Ducks. That's plus 105 at PointsBet. We'll take the plus 105. I'm not going to bother with Caesars if anybody can find a better number. Caesars shows plus 110, but we saw in yesterday's show, Caesars is just late to update this dashboard. So that's fine. We'll move forward. Let's roll on to game number 2. Let's see what you guys have to say out there. Nutflush Allen says Ducks and Columbus team total both set at 2.5 minus 70 from the sports books. Interesting spot, isn't it there? Nutflush. They don't know who's going to win this game. And I think that's an opportunity where we take some plus money. Shout out Tori Coker in the chat. And Kent Davies says Ducks got some guys back today too. Bo Jackson, bet the Blues if you want to donate out there. We'll talk about that game. And Mel says, Michael Buena, I didn't bet it, but at plus 180, it's fine to bet the Blues. The Leaves are generally a fade in weeknight home games early in the week. Kelly V says St. Louis been good against Toronto as well. and Brian Watson. Only thing happened with the Leafs, O'Reilly. Anything happened. Some bullshit is what happened. There's no reason to go out there and bludgeon a guy like that. I get that you got to defend your own net, but play better fucking hockey. You shouldn't be two-hand chopping a guy in the face. That's bullshit. That's a bullshit cowardice move. And I get it. That tells me about that team being in a desperation situation right now. You're so desperate that you got to go out there and two-hand assault a guy just to go out there and show that you've got some fight in yourselves. You don't have fight. You wouldn't have had an empty net situation if that was the case. But, guys, I am proponent of aggressive and physical play, but to a degree, that's just bullshit. And maybe it's because I've had some friends that have taken some beatings like that before, and it hasn't worked out well for them down the long haul. But anyhow, let's talk about this next game we've got. We're going to Mel's Colorado versus these Washington Capitals. And what a great number we have here. I got it. I know a lot of people's favorite plays. There's no way Colorado gets this loss here against this Washington lowly Capitals team. They got Georgiev in goal. 27-13-3 for the Capitals. I'm sorry, for the Colorado Avalanche. On the other side of things, we've got Lindgren at 10-7-4. Both these goalies are kind of in the average category. 294 goals against, 89.8% for Georgiev. 258 goals against, 91.5% for Washington. And this is definitely a spot that I had to look long and hard at. So if you're tracking some numbers on this thing, first of all, what you need to be aware of is that Colorado, a lot of people were looking at regulation, right? They're like, it's a little juicy. I'm just going to take it in regulation in case I lose, is ... the way the rest of that story goes. And that number dropped. It was -130, -120s, now -115s. We also had a situation where Colorado, the Washington side of the house opened up and it got as high as +160. That's starting to drop now. We still see a +160 out there, but we've got some 158s, 143s, 155s. So take that for what it's worth. We don't spend a lot of time looking at this cash flow, but here's the big one that we cashed on before. First of all, let's take a step back on this one. Colorado, when they play the East on the road, they're 4-8 in those spots out there. They're not a team that's been traveling well to East Coast. Once they leave altitude, them legs get a little gassy and they stretch out and they get tired and slow. Colorado's on a 4-game losing streak. You guys talked about that. Georgiev, 4-0 loss to Florida, although he did have a pretty decent performance. He saved 39 shots on 43 attempts. So he has let 4 goals in each of his last 2 games. So he's definitely leaky at best is what I would say. Like, you want to see that number 3 as kind of the point differential spot. You got a leaky guy out there in Georgiev, their only guy that they've got. You got to think about how this Washington Capitals team might be able to find some success here. Now, the Capitals, bottom 5 offense in the NHL, much like that Canadian spot, 2.37 goals for. Colorado does have the second best offense in the NHL with 3.66. Those are facts. But if you look at the trend direction here, I just talked about Georgiev needing suntan lotion for the back of his neck because that lamp is hot and bright and burning that thing out there for him. The other side of things, though, Lindgren has snapped that 4-game winning streak. He had 18 saves on Saturday. Big shutout victory, 3-0 win over the Boston Bruins out there. And the trend that I promised you guys here, we cashed on it the other day. It's back in play again. Road teams, after a shutout on the road, are losers. Losers in an exponential situation. Since December 16th, that trend has lost 12 spots in a row. Tremendous opportunity right now to take this Washington Capitals team. I got it. Not the best, not exciting. The Capitals have covered the puck line, though, in each of their last 6 games at home when they're playing an opponent that's on a losing streak. So you got that coin flippy situation. You want to go take your -1s with Colorado, you're probably looking at a push. Why not take a shot with this opportunity? The home team has won each of its last 6 games for the Colorado Avalanche out there. I'm all over this Capitals team at +160. I love opening up with double dogs here on the card, and we're going to roll on to game number 3. I bet you that's a crowd favorite out there. I want to see what the chat has to say. Tori Coker says, Mike, you're hurting my feelings. I took Colorado money line following Jimmy. Jay Stone is McKinnon playing. I don't care, Jay Stone. I still like this spot there off that shutout loss, but that's definitely worth noting. And JPZ says McKinnon is in. And then UFU says McKinnon over 4 shots if he plays out there. Let's keep rolling. I know you guys need it. I know you don't like it, but I got to roll with it here. And that's 2 dogs. We've got the 3rd dog on the card. Let's keep it rolling. We'll talk about this 3rd NHL opportunity today. Chances to make some cash today, I think, are prevalent in the first half of this card. And, I said to you guys yesterday, if you look at the NHL, I thought it was a favorites card. The thing about this is we had 3 favorites win. Vegas losing that last game turned out to make a lot of sense. In this case here, we'll talk about how it's going to translate to me for the late spot. But if these dogs pop off winning early, we're going to have to move to some favorites later in the card. That being said, though, we've got the St. Louis Blues and Toronto Maple Leafs out there, and Binnington in net at 18-13-2. Samsonov at 9-4-6. And we just talked about the cowardice approach that Toronto has taken to the NHL. Downright assaulting players here like it's a UFC tryout. They're the they're the Draymond Greens of the NHL right now, taking a 2-hand stick and chopping a guy in the throat. Bullshit, but nonetheless, it is what it is. On the St. Louis side of things here, big opportunity today. We can talk about these numbers. We can go to the goaltenders, but let's talk about the teams. The underdog has won each of the Blues' last 7 games in Toronto. The underdog is prevailing. We talked about, I know Mel shared it, what happens with these Toronto teams during the week when they're at home. They're not winning. They're 5-19 on the puck line. They're not covering -1.5. St. Louis, since the firing of their coach, they're 7-3 in their last 10, but they're 7-1 in their last 8. And again, I mentioned the road team in the matchup, over whether it be at home or whether it be in St. Louis or in Toronto, is 6-0 in those spots. St. Louis is 13-2 in their last 15 against Toronto as well. I see this situation where there's just a ton of we'll talk about value. Rarely will you hear me start to go out there and say that there's any value in trying to fade a bad team, but I think the situation's reversed in this one, and there's a significant mismatch. I understand, you look at what's going on with Toronto. Take the Maple Leafs down the line, though. They're 1-2 in their last 3. They just lost against Ottawa 5-3. They won a 5-4 game against Dallas, barely, and they lost 3-2 on their home ice to the Islanders. Certainly not buy signs that you want out there. And we just mentioned the tremendous effort. With the exception of a 1-0 loss at home against Columbus, St. Louis has been nothing but spectacular right now. The Leafs are struggling defensively. They're 20th in the NHL in 5-on-5 situations out there, regular strength. Then you look at the Blues side of things, certainly rolling well here. I just talked about they're 7-1 in their last 8 games. They're not the best 5-on-5 team, but when it comes down to their special teams, as of late has gotten hot. There's a buy sign on their special teams. And Jordan Binnington has been fantastic right now. The 6-year veteran, 94.4% save percentage in his last 5 starts, and he's looked like he is back in the saddle and ready to fire here. I think this is a great opportunity to fade a shitty, suspect, low-life situation like this Toronto Maple Leafs here. And at +180, as my boy Dutch would say, that's good money. Yeah, man, let's get that +180 to the bank here tonight. That's 3 dogs to open up the NHL card. Not just dogs for the sake of saying dogs. They're dogs because I think there's some real meat on those bones. Let's roll over to the next game in the NHL. We got to get this pace picked up here. I promised my boy we'd be rocking already, and we're slow and behind, and that's on me. We're going to go to this Kings game here. We're going to talk about this Kings and Buffalo Sabres spot out there. And look, short, sweet, and to the point. We got the only guy that's winning in goal for the Kings going in David Rittich at 6-5-3. We've got Luukkonen on the other side of things at 12-13-2 for Buffalo. They have no choice but to put this guy in the net, and it's just kind of feeding him to the wolves out there. Buffalo, only 2 goals in their last 2 games. Rittich does have start number 4 and a nice little 2-game win streak going. We know they fired their coach at the All-Star break. He's coming off a 26-save, 4 shutout performance over none other than the Edmonton Oilers out there. You got to like the momentum that's going on right now, specifically with these boys in LA. Again, after that head coach firing out there, things have picked up. We've seen that kind of go across the NHL. We also have another little trend here that supports taking the Kings. It's not quite the revenge spot that we've talked about before, but when you beat them and now you're a home dog and you're a losing team that's winning less than 50% of your games, you're 30-94 in those spots, and you're losing those games by 1.55 goals a game out there. Short, sweet, and to the point. It was -122. It looks like we've had a little bit of movement. PointsBet's got a -130 now. It's -135s, -145s, 150s, and it's moving on up again. So we're going to go official play with the Kings at -135. And I'm going to close out the NHL card, guys. Got to pick the pace up here so we can get our boy in here rocking with us tonight. We got a lengthy and meaty college basketball card. We want to make sure we get to it all. Let's talk about this last game in the NHL. And I think maybe this one will get me back over on the other side of things here. Marvelous Mike says, Mike, how did you enjoy that Super Bowl, my guy? That's how a professional NFL team carries themselves. Yeah, I kicked the shit out of it, Marvelous Mike. Thanks for coming back. And yeah, it was a beatdown. And then at halftime, I went in again. And then in overtime, I went in again. So it was a lot of fun. But, we finished it off with a nice spot yesterday. Jay Stone says, Kempe explosion incoming out there. Wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Torrey Coker's on the Kings. Tell me that's the side. It is the side. Let's go. Mel says it would be Kings or pass. Thought about the under in that one as well. So anyhow, next game on the card out here. You guys are going to probably feel a little bit better. maybe not. Maybe you want to fade me after I come off with 3 dogs here to open the card. But I wouldn't do that. We're running hot in the NHL here. And our next game on the card is the New Jersey Devils and the Nashville Predators spot out there. We've got Schmid. Schmid almost sounds like shit. If you say it aloud, it's 5-7-1 at 3.25 goals against average, 89.3 save percentage. We've got Saros in net for the Nashville Predators at 21-19-2, 2.97 goals against average, and a 90.2% save percentage. To say he's the better goaltender is just an obvious statement, but New Jersey just kind of struggling. We know this in net. Now, they did get that win last night. We were on that New Jersey side. But it's the second leg of the back-to-back, and it's a shitty situation for them boys to be in. The New Jersey Devils are 0-9 as a dog after a win. They're 1-9 when they're in a spot where they're unrested and they're losing those games by 4.8 to 2.8 goals per game. The home favorites after a home Arizona game are 19-7 in those spots as well. And then last but not least, I'll share with you guys, going back to 2023, when an East Coast team's playing the West as a road dog, they're 67-147. Tons to like about this low buy-in spot right now for Nashville. And, Nashville just beat that Arizona team, but clearly they came off of 3 losses before that. So I think Nashville turns into cash flow for us tonight. We got this opportunity to jump in and take these boys at a -124 spots, the best number I see out there with Bet Rivers. -126, -130s, -140s now creeping in out there. That's probably a shit number, though, because that's a Caesars number. And there's a high probability. Well, maybe they are first to the party with that one, but -126 is where the card's going to open up. You guys are following this thing along and you're looking for the evening and how we're going to roll. My late evening look at this point, if I go official with it, I'll tweet it out. If we can pop off these dogs to open this card up, then I like this Edmonton -1.5 and the under 6.5 at +350. I'm going to lean to there right now as a selection. We'll monitor what happens in the front part of the game, but there's a lot of ways to kind of cap the NHL. We can get into that at another time. We've got a lot to cover tonight, but I think this is a good opportunity to kind of keep an eye on that for the radar. So let's transition. Let's see if our guy is ready to roll. It's Tuesday night. It's great night to get the fights rolling here with our boy, Billy Briz. He's our resident Tuesday guy. Let's see if he's available to come on in and kick this college basketball card off with us. There he is.
What up? What up? What up?
What a dick. All right, I asked you to get in there early. I was going to move through the NHL, and instead, here we are. It seems like same time, same place, my guy. How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. Feeling a little bit under the weather, but, it might have been smoking too much weed earlier today.
I mean, that'll happen. You got to get that medicine in you. You got to self-medicate. What a better way to do it than a nice little Tuesday afternoon before a glorious college basketball and NBA card, right?
Yeah, the low volume, but I like the spots that we're at tonight.
Well, let's pop it off. I saw a couple of the spots you have out there. I opened the card up at 7:00, so I've got a couple of these that we'll run through. Then I think we have a little intersection point, and we'll transition to some of the games that you're involved with as well here. But if I missed anything, let me know. But to pop this card off, I looked at this Michigan and Illinois game at 7 p.m. Eastern. So we'll get this thing right rolling and out of the way here. Love what I'm seeing here with the numbers as well. Illinois, Billy, opens up at -15s. Just as I'm looking at it, it moves to 15.5 and now 16. So 84% of the bets and 75% of the cash on Illinois. The Fighting Illini. The under is where we're looking in this game. It started at 155. We have 55% of the bets, but only 49% of the cash on the over. And yet it's dropped now. So they're feeling like maybe they overinflated this total, and it's down to 153.5 on the card here. Curious to hear some thoughts from you, Billy, but this is the first time in the years of the database that I have available to me that Illinois has opened up as a more than a 15-point favorite in a Big Ten game. So high expectations here. They're in uncharted territory right now, but I know that they're 14-0 to the under when they're at home against a conference team off a loss when both teams have combined for more than 2 days of rest out there. So as long as they're not in a back-to-back quirky situation like that, defense does prevail in these spots. It's 14-0 to the under. Love to see the cash coming in on the over, yet the number has dropped. So unfortunately, since I put this together, it's moved from 154.5 to 153.5, but we still have about 13 points of margin in that number itself. So not scared to jump in and start the card off there, Billy. Any thoughts from you on this one?
Yeah, like Illinois here in this spot. All-time fave for Michigan with no Doug McDaniel in the lineup. I think he still has 2 more road games that he has to serve. And that kind of plays in towards your under as well. I mean, how can you really run the offense if you don't have a starting point guard?
Love it. Let's go. We'll keep a nice brisk pace tonight. The next game I've got on the card here, I went to Texas A&M and Vanderbilt, right? So here's a little interesting spot. You don't usually see me kind of dig into some of these type of schools, but when it came to the SEC, I had to make the exception tonight. We opened at 9.5. We're down to 9s and 8.5. We have 67% of the bets and 61% of the cash. We spent a couple of shows now talking about situations where we get reverse line movement. This is exactly what that looks like out there. We've got the total opened up at 135.5. 52% of the bets on the under, 56% of the cash on the under. We haven't seen really a ton of movement from that side of the house. So kind of look at this number and you peel the onion back. For me, Billy, just short and sweet and to the point to keep things rolling. Vanderbilt stinks. They're 1-4 in their last 5, but I think it's a bad scheduling spot for A&M. This is kind of the angle that I looked on this thing here is they just had probably their biggest win of the season, beating Tennessee. It was at home. I get that. It was at home, though. It was 85-69. They were a 2-point dog, and they came out there and whooped them up by 16 points. On the other side of things, now they're traveling on the road. They're on their first of 2 road games. The next road game is against Alabama. My thought process here is if you're sitting there as Texas A&M, do you give a shit about playing a terrible team that's bottom in the conference in Vanderbilt at 6-17? They're terrible. The only thing they got going for them is instead of being 0-6 on the road, they're 6-8 at home. But we know that A&M's got their sights set, and they're trying to go back out there and challenge this Bama team to move up the rankings. So interesting spot here. Texas A&M 4-3 on the road. I love the reverse movement. I can still get the 9s. Wouldn't be mad at anybody that took an 8.5 in this thing either. I just think do they win the game outright? No, I think that's kind of a little ridiculous to say. But to me, it just feels like bad scheduling spot for A&M. And I think Vanderbilt, as bad as they are, can catch the opportunity here. Any thoughts on that one?
Not one game that really hit my radar. Usually try to bet on like the lower under the radar type of games, but not today. Today was kind of more of a chalky day for me.
Yeah. I struggled with that too, because I was kind of looking around after I ripped into the NHL dogs. I was like, man, where are we going to go next? But let's keep rolling. We've got this next 7 p.m. start there. Big game. A lot of people have it on the radar. It's the Iowa State Cincinnati Bearcats spot, right? We've got the Bearcats open up +1. Now favorites. They switch from the dog to the favorite at -1.5. 58% of the bets, 62% of the cash. When we've got tight numbers like that, we like to look at the money line. The money line was -110s on both sides. It's now 64% of the bets, 76% of the cash has moved that money line to -122 for Cincinnati. And the total's dropping 50% of the bets and 77% of the cash. Looking at this under, it's dropped from 138s all the way down to 135s in some spots, Billy. Was this a play that you were looking to take an angle on?
I would bet Cincinnati here in this spot, but I'm just not in the business of fading Iowa State. I mean, I feel like this would be the spot. As soon as I bet against Iowa State on the fucking road, they win a road game finally.
I know Iowa State's been performing. That's a big deal for them. You look at Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati, albeit they got dogged a little bit by Houston, but I still go back to that Kansas spot. They were 7.5-point dogs. They were leading that game a good chunk of the way. Then they beat up UCF at home 68-57. They were laying 4 in West Virginia. They took the loss. I've said before, West Virginia is a tough place to get to play. I'll give them a discount there. Texas Tech, they end up as a 4.5-point dog coming up with a 3-point victory, 7.5-point swing on the numbers here. And I had a couple spots I looked at for this one. The home teams, when they're -7 or longer, so longer in this case, just the way the database works, represents shorter, -7 to anything to a plus number. It would say shorter if they meant -7, meant -8 or -9. So home teams that are -7 or longers are 47, 6-3 when they're playing a ranked team with more wins when they're on a low total out there. So low total defined as a spot where they're at 139 or less. And this number keeps dropping. So it just reinforces that opportunity. Cincinnati 15-0 against the spread when they're not a 19+ point favorite and coming off a loss. Great rebound spot for them, boys. And then last but not least, we've got the home favorite versus a ranked opponent situation. Is kind of that Vegas knows that we won on yesterday. So I locked in Cincinnati for me. I know I'm with you. It was hard for me to pull the trigger on Cincinnati because Iowa State found a way to be sneaky on the road, but I don't need them to cover a large number. I just need them to win the game outright at -122. Let's keep rolling.
I like the spot, man. I like the spot. It kind of reminds me of that Texas Tech spot from last night.
Absolutely. And Texas Tech handled those boys from start to finish. I mean, that was a bad spot to be if you were sitting there on Kansas. And it was, I saw somebody posted something while you're talking about that, that said something on X there about how if you think that it smells bad or it looks bad, then take the side that looks bad. And, you're not getting a gift with Kansas at +2 in the first half or +4s on the road. That's a bad looking spot for a Kansas team. You should be laying them points out there in a situation like that. I mean, easy to say now in hindsight, but you're not getting the gift from ye old Vegas. Let's not forget, you got to keep the lights on in the desert in the middle of nowhere. And they got those big shiny castles because they're not giving out gifts unless you're a high rolling player. They might give you a charter jet out there just so they can take more of your cash. So Stacks POD,
especially
we got Justin. Oh yeah.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, they I don't feel bad for him. You feel bad for him?
No, but I mean, it makes these upcoming slates after a little bit more tricky. I mean, I think there were 6 underdogs, 6 out of 9 games were underdogs last night in the NBA. I mean, you had that one play in the Houston Rockets game, Aaron Holiday's getting fouled on a Hail Mary at the end of the game so the Rockets can get to the free throw line. I mean, there was a lot of Vegas was making their calls last night.
I think they got me with those last 2 games, but I like your spot here for this 9 o'clock window. Let's transition to this Ohio State and Wisconsin game here. This line opened at -8. We've moved to -9s in some cases out there. There's still a couple 8.5s. We have 67% of the bets and 74% of the cash on Wisconsin. We've seen the number move in Wisconsin's direction. The total has dropped. We have 49% of the bets on the over, 60% of the cash. It went from 141.5s down to 139.5s, 139s, 138.5s, down to 138s, Billy. The floor is yours, my friend. Help us figure out how to get some cash out of this game here. Ohio State, terrible on the road. Wisconsin, I've said it before, tough place to travel, but coming off of 4 losses. Lay it down for us.
Yeah, I like Wisconsin in the first half here, minus the 4.5. Some of those numbers have moved to 5. I mean, it's all the same, -118. This is Wisconsin's spot, man, after a 40-game losing streak. I mean, the pressure is on for March Madness. This is a must-win home spot. I mean, Ohio State was able to pick up that win over the weekend versus Maryland, but their recent play on the road this year has been horrible. 0-6 on the road. They haven't been able to pick up a road win in over a year, so let's get Wisconsin going in the first half.
I love it. I've been talking with Dabby Cab there, trying to get a little tutelage from our guy that does play those first halves religiously in everything. If there was only 2 halves in hockey, I'm sure he'd be a hockey guy betting first halves in that. Shout out to Dabby Cab. But we were talking about situations, and this one fits the mold for me. I love that spot that you sent it over. If I was going to play 2 first halves today, one of them would be that Wisconsin spot. You got a team that's reeling on the road. They got to get their shit together after 4 straight losses and come back home and put some boots to ass on this team here. And Ohio State stinks now. Big number. Could they open the back door and pop away in there at the end of the night? Potentially with Ohio State, but Wisconsin needs to start out flying and fire. And I love that first half look. I think that's probably one of the sharpest looks on the board tonight.
Thank you. Let's keep on rolling here. I usually don't pick as many top 25 schools, but there's a couple I liked on the card tonight with the top 25 schools.
Well, next game on the docket we've got here is Oklahoma and Baylor here. This is a spot that I jumped in on. The aforementioned first half spots here. This line opened at -5.5. It's shot up to 7.5 now. 59% of the bets and 68% of the cash likes this Baylor side. The numbers dropping, similar situation to that Wisconsin game. 145.5 down to 143.5, down to 142.5, with 64% of the bets and 80% of the cash in this spot here. And I'd said there's two spots that I would jump in on where I was looking at it. I think this makes a lot of sense as well. Baylor coming off that road loss by 3 points to Kansas. And, certainly they got to go out there and they've got to rally. They can't just let that kind of sit. But this number's moving, and we're starting to lose, in my opinion, the long scheme value of this thing. Can Oklahoma keep the road trip going? They're 3-1 in their last 4. I'm sorry, get the road trip started. Kansas State, they beat Kansas State in their own barn by 20 points. This is a dangerous Oklahoma team. And this is where I looked at this first half, kind of stealing your idea with this Wisconsin play, saying, they're coming off that road loss. They got to get it right. Long-term in the game, do I think they cover? Do they win the game? I do. But I'm just concerned that they cover the number. And I was able to break it down and take this first half at 3.5. So I thought 3.5 is a good number. It's minus 112 is a little bit juicier than maybe you'd like. There's minus 104s at minus 110. But for the 2 cents for me to take that half a point in there and get the hook back in play for me is all over my card. So I jumped on that minus 3.5 for the first half and a minus 112 spot. Any looks from you on this one?
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. I like Baylor on the money line here in this one. I like this as a bounce back spot. I mean, they're 12-1 at home. Are you betting against Baylor at home? Not really. I mean, could Oklahoma backdoor this number? Probably so, but I think Baylor wins this game outright. Another spot that I kind of liked on the card today, being quick here on this one, is Kentucky versus Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is due for some regression. They ranked 10th in the country for 3-point percentage, but 283rd in attempts per game. I think that number evens itself out. Kentucky should benefit from their pace of play in this one. I don't think it's going to be like a Gonzaga type matchup where you're kind of playing into Gonzaga's cards. Ole Miss, I think they're going to lose this one at Kentucky. Kentucky losing 4 home games in a row. I mean, the third one I could have saw. The Gonzaga one was a weird scheduling spot, but I think the one against Ole Miss tonight, I think it's a Kentucky smash spot.
8.5. Is that a good number for you?
8.5 is a good number.
Okay, let's go. I'm with you. I thought the same thing. Like you look at these numbers. I did look at some trends that supported the over in this game. So Kentucky has been flying over their numbers right now. 171.5 against Florida, 158.5 against Tennessee, 151.5 against Vanderbilt, and then back up to 171.5 against the Zags. So they're on a nice little over trend. And if you're looking at the buy low, sell high type of spot here, Ole Miss coming off that under against South Carolina. So wouldn't be mad at anybody that wanted to jump in on that over for me. JPC says Kentucky lost cool points with me losing to Gonzaga. Yeah, but that was a tricky spot. I know Billy, I think it was Billy that talked about it and said the Zags needed that win when they scheduled that game out there. So, I don't think I think that was Saturday that we talked about it, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that was a spot where that game was scheduled for the Zags to take down Kentucky, and take them down. They did, but Ole Miss does feel like they're a little overrated right now with 2 straight losses. So Billy likes to open the card up there with the minus 8.5 at Kentucky on the full game. Anything else in college hoops, Billy? Are we missing anything?
10:00 game. I like Dayton tonight. I think Dayton smashes at home.
The old Dayton smash spot. Are they going to get back onto their winning ways against Duquesne? 7.5. We see this number, 63% of the bet, 67% of the cash on Dayton. Numbers drop 3 points to a 7.5. So you're definitely extracting maximum value now at 7.5. You comfortable with that number?
Yeah, I like the 7.5. I use it as a money line parlay piece. I think there's a lot of the board today is kind of chalky, to be honest with you, for college basketball. I think a lot of these favorites are going to come in here and cover the spread. Last Tuesday, I think we're on here, and a lot of the road teams were smashing in certain spots. It was a ridiculous card. I think the variance is going to flip back the other way.
Yeah, that's how I thought about, I mentioned the NHL earlier, right? There was a lot of public spots, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, favorite spots out there. And thought the flip side here, I kind of agree with you. And it's weird because when you look at the college basketball card, the favorites aren't necessarily the teams you would expect to be favorites out there. Like St. John's is in a difficult spot there against Providence, but I think Providence wins, but I don't know that they go. Should they be laying 2 points out there? I don't know. I mean, it's, we're seeing these numbers kind of moving in a weird situation today. Everything moving on that Vanderbilt side. Texas A&M's numbers started out probably just a weird spot as you start to analyze numbers. And you look at Florida coming off that big spot there, -9 moves to 10 and 10.5 against LSU. Wouldn't surprise me that that's a little sneaky spot there. Northern Illinois should kick the shit out of Buffalo, but it's moved 2 points in their direction. So I'm right on with that assessment. It's just a little tricky. It's difficult to navigate some of these cards when it's chalky like that. But hopefully we get the job done. Are there any other closing thoughts on the college basketball before we flip the page of the NBA?
I think that Colorado State and San Diego State game is going to be a hell of a game. I just couldn't get there with the 5.5 at home. It feels like one of those type of games where you have the 5 or the 5.5, and it's such a close game at the end that the other team is fouling the other team so they don't shoot a 3-pointer, and then it fucks up the whole cover. Feels like one of those type of games.
Yeah. A lot of points. That one kind of was a flag to me because that's a lot of points. We're not seeing a ton of movement either. San Diego State -5.5, pretty much sitting at 5.5 with 65% of the bets and 71% of the cash. Maybe by 9 o'clock, there's a little more volatility or movement in the number. I'll take another one. Just on the fly, I don't want to put you in a spot here to commit one way or the other, but just from talking points here, Virginia Tech. I thought this was a sneaky little spot for Virginia Tech. The Hokies have done me dirty so many fucking times. I can't stand it. But here's that spot: 3 straight losses, 2 road games against Notre Dame and Miami. Miami, clearly a team that can win some and kick your ass or lose some and look bad doing it. So Florida State, though, on the other side of things, win one, lose one, win one, lose one situation here. Lost to Louisville 101-92. Barely beats Boston College. Granted, it was on the road and they were a dog, but 80-76 loss against Virginia. Do they bounce back in that spot? Or when you're looking at it, you see, who do they have next on the schedule? They're at home against Duke. This kind of felt like this is a little spot where I could see Virginia Tech sneaking in there and finding a way to, get the job done and give Florida State. Maybe, they're going to have to go out there and win outright here. It's going to have to be a bludgeoning spot for them, but it just seems like I could see Florida State looking ahead to that Duke spot. But again, nothing official for me on that game either. What do you think about that?
I would throw the Hokies in like a parlay or something like that as like a 4th or a 5th leg as a parlay filler to get a certain amount of odds. But I'm definitely not in the business of trying to really lay a lot of points with the Hokies. I mean, 5.5, you would basically need them to win by double digits. Or be up. Not win by double digits, but they would need to be up by double digits at some point during the game. And man, I mean, double digits with the Hokies, I don't know.
It's a lot of points, but just seems like that's where, we're talking about that favorites on the card situation. It's like they're weird favorites. Feels like it should be 2.5 or 3.5 at most, and they can go out there and win the game by 6, but they're still flirting around that 6 sweet spot. So we'll see how the line matures as the evening develops here. Let's go. Let's put the high tops on and talk about these pros, baby. We got the All-Star break looming. We're kind of in that malaise of the schedule point for this NBA here as we move through it. They did me dirty on those last 2 games last night. I'm bitter. I'm not going to let it ruin my day, though. What up, Jacqueline? Good to see you. Rez Mob out there says if Kentucky was playing Kentucky, I still couldn't pick a winner. That's a great comment, Rez Mob. Great comment out there, our guy. Justin says Florida State might win outright there. Justin's supporting the Florida State spot. Yeah, just some high-level looks, guys. Nothing that we made official on that stuff. That's some weird conversation points here. I like to pick Billy's brain, not just here, but it kind of helps me figure out how he thinks these teams will move over the next couple of days as well. So Patrick Bird says that Notre Dame loss for Virginia Tech makes them a fade team for me. It'll be interesting to see how it develops tonight. So speaking of development, let's get into this NBA. Let's roll with this first game on the card. We've got the Celtics and the Nets, Billy. I didn't get a chance to look at your NBA card, but we'll buzz down it real quick here. We got a 7:30 start. I'll open up with some lines and totals and then jump in any thoughts you have. I've got a couple looks in the NBA as well. I thought the NBA card was a little trickier for me, but maybe it's because I was just a little bitten yesterday at the end of the card there after a glorious day. But the Celtics opened up at 9.5, down to 8, 64% of the bets, but only 41% of the cash. And yet the lines moved. So now the bigger numbers coming in on them Nets. And we see the totals dropping from 231.5 5 points now. 226 is out there. 67% of the bets and 61% of the cash on this under, Billy. We know the Celtics are smashed. We know Nasty Nate likes them to smash. We know the trifecta's in play for our guy. He also likes the second quarter for the Celtics, and they're coming off of 4 in a row. Just handled Miami 110-106 just 2 days ago, but they were laying 8. They didn't get the cover. The Nets did just get the cover against the Spurs, 123-103. Comfortable win as a 6-point favorite, and on their home court again now for their fourth game in a row. Billy, take it away.
This is a game that I probably wouldn't really bet. Shouts to the chat. Kelly Vincenzo's in the chat. She's already on it. Boston and Nets today and tomorrow. They just switch venues. And Jacqueline in the chat, she's saying, what's up to everybody? What up, Jacqueline? And if I had a bet on this game, I would probably bet the first half under. Usually when two teams from the same exact conference or division play against each other, they usually go first half under from the way they're familiar with both teams. But the Nets is trade deadline stuff. I mean, it's probably going to take them a game or two to kind of get everything going. This is not a game I would bet, to be honest with you. I would probably bet the first half under or Boston first half, but this is just one have it circled for tomorrow. Learned a little bit about today.
I like that approach. I guess I didn't look at it and see that they were playing again. I'll say that the Nets are 0-8-1 against the spread when they got a line that's longer than 7 points. So, they're getting 8.5s down to 8s now. So we got to keep our eyes on that. This is going to pop off at 7:30, but 0-8-1 spot there. And they haven't covered the spread in, each of their eight of their last 9 games after a win. So kind of an interesting spot there. The Celtics have won each of their last 7 road games against the Nets. I wanted to take the Nets. I'm with you. This is one of those games where there was enough else on the card for me. There was enough meat on the bone to decide not to have to get involved in it. I do like that fade the Nets after that win spot here. And because it's their 4th game in travel, but the numbers just don't line up for me. I see the Celtics have won 4 in a row. I mean, they should smash. But we went from 9.5s to 8s now. And it looks like that bigger bettors are coming in and saying we still like them Nets. So it's a pass game for me as well. I got nothing to get involved with on that one. UFU says Nets points is not a good decision. Not tonight. And then there's our guy T on the 1s and 2s rocking out there. Says Porzingis is out. All right, so maybe that's why the line movement comes into play. Is 2 points an overreaction for a Porzingis number out there? Is he that influential and instrumental in that offense to justify, or is it not enough? I guess is the question out there. What do you think? Is he a 2-point guy?
For this particular, I mean, I like betting the Celtics with Porzingis out there more than he not out there. But I mean, it's right before the trade deadline. I mean, not the trade deadline, the All-Star break. It just feels like a sleepy Celtic spot. Like they're just going to come in, go through the motions, and as long as they get the win, they don't care how much they win by.
Wine Time says still take the +8. Nets +9. He's still taking a +8. Kelly V says Boston straight up wins 17 in a row at the half. Half that is info only. Gotcha, Kelly. Let's roll on. Let's talk about some info on this next game. There's our guy, LJ. He's giving us them props. You guys asked for props. We got props here. Spinning like a fucking propeller. LJ from H-Town giving us Claxton over 1.5 blocks, 2+ blocks, 4 out of his last 5 games. So LJ liking that Claxton block spot out there. And let's see. Let me just take a quick perusing of the number for the blocks. I had an eyelash drop into my eye, and it's irritating the shit out of me all show. -140 for the over. Oh, no, that's Porzingis. -120. There you go. A little Claxton over 1.5 block spot from our guy LJ at -120. Let's talk about this Thunder and Magic game. And I got to be honest with you, before I even get into it, I heard all this shit about this is their first nationally televised game in forever. It's the jersey retirement night for Shaq, I believe, as well. Those are those artificial things that we talked about with the Kobe statue night that made me pause. This line opened at 3. 61% of the bets, 71% of the cash have taken the Magic. And yeah, there's some 2.5s out there, but it really hasn't moved. 229.5 dropped to 223.5. 43% of the bets, 65% of the cash on this one, Billy. The money line really not moving. minus 140, staying at minus 140. If anything, it's went from plus 115 to plus 125 on the Magic side. We have a ton of cash coming in on the OKC Thunder money line. It went from 79% of the bets and 85% of the cash on the Thunder money line. Questionable move. Really, there's no movement on the money line in some of these books, but there has been movement against the Magic, Billy. What do you think about this one?
All my numbers are telling me that the Magic are in a good spot, and this is a Magic bet on spot. Seems like when the Magic play against really good offensive rated teams, they're able to really limit their offense and make it more of a defensive slugfest. And if you told me that the Thunder going on the road and they be happy in Disney, All-Star break right around the corner. I mean, this seems like a Magic type of spot. When playing a team with a 115 offensive rating or higher, they're 22-5-1 ATS and 12-4 ATS this season. So pretty strong trends for the Magic in this one, mixed in with a little bit of narrative theory about them playing on national television. Made some money betting against the Thunder. It's Magic or pass for me, but I don't know if I want to be going into the deep end right now and just saying fuck the Oklahoma City Thunder. I feel like I kind of got lucky last week with the Utah Jazz spot and then the Dallas Mavericks follow up. So it's a dog or pass for me for this one. I feel like the public, though, is going to be attracted by the short line that they're going to see on the Thunder. Thunder close towards a pick 'em. If you look at the money line numbers, 79% of the money coming in on the Thunder money line. So that already just makes me want to fade the public right there. I think the Magic are going to cash this one outright. I would even bet it on the spread. I would just bet it straight up on the money line.
I got to be honest. I don't know if it's just because of that fucking statue thing that makes me just want to take OKC Thunder. I just, I was looking at the line movement earlier today. So just kind of getting in you don't want to spend too much time in my head here, but the head that I had working on this thing was looking at it saying, I like the Thunder as a dog. You've heard me say that time and again. And the Magic, I'm with you, Billy. They've been damn good to us. But when they go to that dog roll, I was looking at what happened in Miami. They got bludgeoned 121-95 on February 6th out there. And it's my overall philosophy that when you've got these jersey retirement nights, national TV nights, I know it's a big deal for these teams, but their overarching philosophy, and if you're on the other team, banner raising ceremonies, anything like that, is let's fuck their night up. And they're literally talking about that in the locker room as professionals, as semi-pro players. Like, they want to go out there and take the spotlight away from these guys and ruin that big night. The Magic are 0-5 against the spread when they're playing against a team that's got a 57% or higher win percentage and a line that's 3 points or shorter. On the other side of things, the OKC Thunder are 19-0-2 when the total's no more than 227 and they covered by 10 points or more the previous game. You know what? Fuck it. I talked myself into it. I got to look at the best number I can get here. 2.5. 2.5 at -1. I'm going to lay the 2.5. Fuck the Magic. Fuck this big opening ceremony. If I lose this one like I lost that Lakers one, except because I faded it this time, I can live with that. If I took the Magic because of that situation and I lost again, I'd be mad at myself. So, and then if they don't cover, I'd still be mad at myself in this situation. So my hands are tied.
It's more of like when it's a short number, the public likes to bet the Thunder. All the money's coming in on the Thunder. I think the Lakers situation was a little bit different. It was kind of like 60-40. This one's like everybody's betting the Thunder. Not a lot of people are betting the Magic here. I feel like it's more of like a pros versus Joes type of game.
It's 61% of the bets and 69% of the cash on the Magic +3. So there's a lot of cash coming in on the
look
spread.
At the money line.
Yeah, the money line's taking the bludgeoning, right?
Yeah, that's the number that I care about. I don't mean the spread. I mean, majority of people are just going to pay the -125, -130. You're not going to pay they're not going to pay -2.5. And vice versa. If you're betting dog, you're usually going to take an extra possession or two. You're not going to bet the money line. I think this is a pro versus Joe spot, and the sharps are betting the Magic, and the public's betting the Thunder.
Hold on, let's go to this next game. Let's talk about this Heat and Bucks game. I got the intersecting zeros, and I got that little asterisk back in the back pocket around the jersey. I just got to do it. So let's go. We got the Heat and the Bucks. We opened at 6. We're cruising now. 7.5, 8s, and 8.5. 63% of the bet, 68% of the cash on the Bucks. The total went from 229 down to 224 with 60% of the bets and 54% of the cash. Billy Briz, I got to sit there and I'm not going to coin flip that last OKC game anymore. We'll move on to this one here. Potentially a good one in our hands here. We know Doc back in action after taking the shine off of that fun that was that Denver game yesterday for me. And tell us how you think this back-to-back road spot or back-to-back game situation is going to affect this pace of play for this game, Billy.
Yeah, I want to attack this from a player prop angle. There's a lot of guys out for the Heat tonight. The Heat are kind of limping into the All-Star break here. They're going to be shorthanded tonight. Hero and Jami Jaquez will see the biggest usage bumps. I like his over 13.5 points tonight at -120. He's gone over 11 out of his last 13 games without Butler in the lineup. Bucks second half of a back-to-back. They're ranked 23rd in points allowed. More of when you start knocking these as many guys as they have in the rotation, no Richardson, no Butler, it's just going to make him play the whole entire game, regardless of the blowout situation. I like the spot for him. I think I have him penciled in for around like 17, 18 points. So 13.5 at -120. It opened up at plus money today. People were on that immediately. It went from +100 to -120. I think it's gone up in the right direction. Player prop angle in this one.
With you say Jaquez?
Yeah. 13.5 -120. It opened up at +100. I wish I would have got it at +100.
Love to see that when it goes in your direction, right? Like you wish you got the better number, but it's certainly comforting to know that, especially with like player props. To me, that makes the biggest difference in the world. Is like if you're seeing that thing go against your number, at least for me, I sweat it a little bit. I'm like, shit, this thing's dropping. That's not where I want to be. Justin says the jersey retirement had nothing to do with his pick on there. Yeah, listen, I get it. I got it. Mel says Morgan Riley suspended 5 games. Good. Wish he'd gotten even more. Yeah, that was just some cowardice shit. Did you see that move, Billy? Guy came in and fucking cross-checked the dude right in the face. I mean, it was like how they talk about the bat flip rule in Major League Baseball, right? Like you don't flip the bat, and if you do, you're breaking the code or whatever. Like there was an empty net, and he fired a howitzing slap shot into it. Definitely was like a shitty thing to do, but don't play that bad if you're concerned. And because Toronto's been reeling and they've been getting challenged for not having heart, all of a sudden, Morgan Riley comes in, puts 2 hands on the stick and bops the dude literally right on the side of the face. Like just a scumbag, shitty thing to do. But anyhow,
I mean, back from the All-Star break, you know how that stuff goes.
Yeah, I get it. I looked at the over in this game. I get it with the players being out. I felt like this thing dropped enough. And here's the number. We're starting to see the buyback here on the floor for this thing. I don't like hearing what you're saying about these guys being out, but I'm back to 223.5 from what I had before the show at 222.5. So it's a little bit of a buy sign for me there. The Bucks are 12-0 and they're a favorite with no rest if the total's less than 238. I talked about some of these kind of unicorn spots out there. The Lakers being in a situation where they're a home dog after losing as a dog. Like how often does that happen at home back-to-back situations? And they didn't lose in that spot. Usually we see with these back-to-back situations that team kind of gets flat in that second time. But the Bucks in this case, 12-0 is a favorite with no rest on a number that's less than 238. So I thought about that for the Bucks side of things, but they're 10-0 to the over since March 7th of last year when the total's under 227 and not higher than their last game. So when Vegas is playing some fuckery, whether it be because of players being injured or whatever the case happens to be, as long as it doesn't eclipse the previous number there, it's a great spot for them to go to the over. And then each of the last 9 games between these two teams, the Heat and the Bucks, have gone over the total point line as well. So they may be injured, but this might support your player prop out there. And Jaquez comes out there and gets the job done and lights the world on fire with himself a little 30-point nighter type of situation because it looks like they just
30 would be from Hero.
Justin says Riley is a coward, 2 hands made, act of violence. I mean, Yeah. It's a bad spot. I'm all for aggressive play, and I've been known to take my knee to the head of the opposing goaltender when he's covering the puck up for a whistle. But that's a different situation. I mean, that's playoffs. That's the heat of the battle. Anyways, it's enough. Let's go. Let's talk about this Kings and Suns game here. We want to get you guys rolling and off for your evenings, and we've got ourselves 3 more games on the NBA card. So let's look at this Kings and Suns spot. The line opened at +4. It's moved to 4.5. Hasn't moved since, though, and it's starting to soften. 63% of the bets and 74% of the cash on the Suns -4.5. The total opened at 243.5. We got 53% of the bets and 48% of the cash on the over. That has moved to 244.5 and 245. So we do have a situation there. All the cash is dumping in on the money line for the Suns. It went from -174 to -177. So 3 cents of movement. 86% of the bets, 82% of the cash, Billy, on the Suns money line here. And I kind of think this is going to be a good game. Like this one might make the main screen for me. We've got the Suns had picked up 3 wins in a row, but then took that loss to Golden State. What a game that was. Losing, they were 1.5-point favorites. They lost 113-112. We've got the Kings, had that monster situation going, but have not been able to get right after that 7-game road trip. They've gone 1-2 back on the road again after getting down by OKC. They were 3.5-point dogs, and they lost 127-113, Billy. Do you have anything for us on this game?
The only thing that I was eyeing up for this game is a potential Sun spot early. I could definitely see them getting the lead early in this one, maybe first quarter, first half. But I'm more of waiting for a injury news report in some of these later games. I think the game that really circle on the card tonight is really that Portland and Minnesota game. If we can get certain injury news reports to break our way, we're going to make some money in that one.
Man, I've taken some of these games early, and then by the time the ball tips, it's moved 3 points against me because of those things. So definitely not a bad spot to sit and tighten wait. I see UFU says Sabonis triple-double. Not a bad spot. He's definitely been out there lighting it up. Recorded a triple-double in each of the Kings' last 6 games as a dog. So not enough risk return for me. I mean, I guess it's pretty good. It was around +150 when I looked earlier. So would not be mad at that. I've got the Suns 0-9 against the spread when they're at home, off a loss if the total is 229 or more. So again, we've got a situation in this game where this total's way over that number. They're 0-9. They're losing against the spread by almost 15 points. So potential spot, I thought, for them to kind of, just kind of get their pants pulled down and their bottoms smacked on their own home court out there. We know KD might enjoy that there. The Kings have covered the spread in each of their last 8 games as a road dog off a loss. So I thought this was the bounce back spot where we see the Suns kind of come out flat. And the fact that this number is kind of idling at that 4.5 and looking to start to come down now, I like it. I'm in on it. I'm going with it. I'm staying with it. It's gone from 5s now to 4.5, but it's -105 with the 4.5. So I guess injury lineup beware, but I'm going to jump in on that Sacramento Kings +4.5 spot and roll this card on up. What do you think? We got 2 more games left for the NBA. Let's talk about this T-Wolves and Trailblazers game. You talked about this one as the circle spot. We got the T-Wolves coming off that big win yesterday. -9 drops to 7.5, though. 46% of the bets and 66% of the cash on the T-Wolves. The total's dropping as well. 214.5s down to 212s. We have 62% of the bets on the over, but 60% of the cash on the under. And as far as that money line, it's moving towards the Trailblazers as well. 51% of the bets on the T-Wolves, 86% of the cash, yet it's gone from +330 to +270 on the Timberwolves, Billy. Interesting game here. Looking forward to hearing your breakdown with this one. Do the Timberwolves roll again on the road, or do they fall to this Portland Trailblazers team that's really been kind of in a situation where it's kind of hard to predict? They have come off of 2 wins in a row. They are, though, on their 4th. They've lost 4 games in a row. It's their 3rd home game in a row. I butchered that up, Billy, but instead of me stumbling and bumbling, take it away.
I like the over in this game, but it's one of those spots where you're going to have to wait for all the injury news to come out. It's like one of those spots where I think Anthony Edwards gets ruled out. If Anthony Edwards gets ruled out, this total's going to go even lower than what it's already at. But I think it's going to be a good opportunity for us to even get the buy back into it. If you look at the Wolves, they have the best defense in the NBA, but without half their starting lineup, with Jaden McDaniels being out, Anthony Edwards could potentially be out for this one, depending on how the injury news breaks. They're going to have to run a lot different than what they usually are used to, accustomed to, and I don't think they're going to have the best defensive rating at that point. I feel like the numbers on this game is the reason why it's so low, such a low total. But I think this is going to be one where the Blazers, depending on how their injury news report breaks, Malcolm Brogdon's already out for this one. Scoot Henderson's questionable for this one. This might just be the Anthony Simons show. And at that point, I think this game is going to be a little bit faster pace of play than what we have projected right now. So we have to definitely circle this one, and don't turn off all the computers and sit back, smoke a blunt, and go to sleep tonight, because there's going to be some money to be made on this late night opportunity of the card. I like the Timberwolves Trailblazers as you're going to have to get in 10 to 15 minutes before the game starts, because we're not going to know if Anthony Edwards is in or out. But I think he's going to be out the way this line's moving from 9 to down to 7.5.
I'm with you there. And I see our guy LJ from H-Town on that Suns game there. He gave us KD over 6.5 rebounds, and he likes the Bradley Beal over 1.5 3 points made. So a couple more props from our guy out there, LJ from H-Town. We appreciate you sharing that. Mel says the Avs are up 1-0. Sean says take a shot with the Caps at plus 300. Fuck yeah, let's go. I still like him to get the job done. I'm not scared about him being down 1-0. Let's go. Res Mob says Marquette first half is a push at -2, and says I'm on Davidson first half and the game as well. Let's wrap this card up here with the last game of the night. It's the Detroit Pistons playing the Los Angeles Lakers here. Lakers opened up at -11.5, down to -10s, 73% of the bets and 73% of the cash on the Pistons. It's dropped now 1.5 to this road dog, and the total is moving on up from 237 to 242.5 now, 65% of the bets and 53% of the cash on the over. And I'm very curious to hear the breakdown here. I didn't get to the window really with much of anything on this one, Billy. And I know it's late night and we've got some injury factors out there, but you tell us how this one's going to go down. What do you think here?
This could be one of those spots, man. You're going to have to wait for the injury news report. I mean, I know LeBron and AD are always listed as questionable, but I mean, front end, both teams are on the front end of a back-to-back, and I think the Lakers are the one to really circle. I mean, they go into Utah to definitely a spot where when you have a veteran team, you don't want to have some of your guys trotting back out there 30 to 35 minutes back-to-back games before the NBA All-Star break. So I think the Lakers are going to have some guys sitting tonight. And don't look now, man, but we've been the fucking Detroit basketball. They've been covering spreads left and right, and they've been cashing tickets for us. 9-2 ATS last 11. They covered 3 straight, 6 out of the last 7, 12 out of the last 14. I mean, they've been balling, man. I think the Pistons are in a good spot to be able to catch a backdoor cover, but this could be one of those ones where we can catch a live line on this one. We don't have to go to the window just because it's that time of night and be like, give us our Detroit basketball. We might be able to catch this one after the first quarter and get 16, 17.5 live.
I like it. Looking for a live play. Love the strategy there with the later games to kind of lay it down. We might not have official plays for you guys yet, but give you some things to think about as we roll forward with it. You know, I just looked at some props. I mean, I don't know. Anthony Davis, he's got 28 points or more in 5 of the Lakers' last 6 games against the Pistons. So he seems to be the guy that steps up, but he also seems to be the guy that steps up because LBJ is the guy that takes off. So I wouldn't be mad at Jalen Duren getting the rebound spots over as well. That's a nice look, I think, for him in this game. Lakers allow 51 rebounds a game. Ivy points. That's another one that I kind of had an asterisk next to as well. So maybe some props, maybe a live bet, but let's go. Let's roll through the show. I'm starting to see some of the hockey scores coming in, so I want to make sure I can watch some hockey tonight, Billy. Let's recap the officials. Tell them what you got going on this week, and let's see if we can't get to the cash.
Yeah, we got the UFC card popping off this weekend in Anaheim. Make sure you guys join us on Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe. Nice little short card for us today. Wisconsin first half -4.5. And then we took a little top 25 parlay of Kentucky and Baylor, both on the money line. Usually don't like to do those type of parlays, but I like those spots for those teams tonight. And then on the NBA card tonight, one official was Yami Jaquez over 13.5 points, -120. And make sure you guys stay tuned. Follow us over on X at @getting_bills because a lot of the slate is still really I think the best part of the slate is going to be the 10 o'clock games tonight. The three biggest totals of the night are going to be in those last three games of the night. Minnesota Portland's got some injury news we got to follow. Sacramento Phoenix is going to be the most entertaining card of the entertaining game of the card, and Detroit Lakers are going to put some money in our pocket late at night tonight.
Let's go. Shout out Billy Briz rocking with us tonight. Tuesdays, you guys better enjoy it. We got him here. He's giving it what we got. He's giving us his best looks. He's getting it tight and right with the card. And shout out everybody there in the chat as we put the bow on the show here. Ian Shaber, Kelly V, Sean Mosier, Tori Coker, Jay Peasy, Mel, all you guys rocking with us, UFU, Res Mob. Appreciate everybody dropping in tonight to hang out here. AOD rocking with us. Cameron Seen It, Real Deal Prime. Appreciate everybody tonight. You guys know the deal. Ice Viking. We'll see you guys back here again tomorrow. Pub Sports Radio. Last call, 6 p.m. Eastern. Stay pubbing, baby. Get that cash. Good luck with your bets.